Y'all know what it is. Welcome out to that Boom Bap Breakfast. In case you didn't know, this is the Remix Morning Show. I go by the name of the Ear Doctor, and I like to introduce you to our host today. We got no other than Dr. Jared and my right hand man, Kamal K. Franklin.
What's up, fellas?
What up?
What's going on? What's up, remixers? What's up, good people? Beijing in the building.
Oh my God.
I know.
It's a beige day. It's a beige day. It's a beige day. It's the beige day.
All mugged up.
Uh-oh, here comes Jackie.
Oh, you all got mugs.
Now here comes Jackie. That's messed up. What's the word, good folks? What's happening? What's the latest? What's the latest? It's good to be back. I was happy to see the remix back up yesterday. Yes, peace, James. Peace.
Everything is good. I'm happy to be back. Oh, shit, it's falling on my desk. Yo, it's like all spooky. Oh, that was weird. Yo, okay, check it out. This is a picture which just fell. I'm gonna show people. I don't like to share all my life with y'all, but I will. I don't know if y'all can see that. See that one right there?
Mm-hmm.
That's my big, right. Yep, that's my big sister.
That's Anita. Wow. Nice
that's me,
afro.
The light-skinned boy over here.
Other side,
oh, yeah, we see
you. Right? You see what? Yeah. And those are my cousins. Those are cousins. That's back in the day.
Mr. Light Bright.
I stood out a little bit.
Just shining. That's all. We just shining. That's it.
True.
That's it. So just well, since we're sharing on my end, went from paying respects to Dr. James Turner at his service on Saturday. And speaking of which, on Friday, I've asked again, folks, brothers Geechee and Diallo, to give me a little more room, because we're going to have a whole Africana family thing Friday morning. So folks definitely don't want to miss that. The Turner Cubs are coming out. The colleagues are coming out. It's going to be a full packed morning of a real tribute, more fleshed out tribute to Dr. Turner on Friday morning. But so that was fun. That was,
hey, Jared, for those who don't know,
not fun,
let us know who Dr. James Turner is.
So James Turner was he's a giant of Africana studies, of Black studies. And he's I've paid a little bit of tribute on my show to him, and but one thing I have not done, to your point, is really lay out the history. So we're going to do that on Friday, because he comes out of the Black Studies movement. He comes out of Black Power and Black liberation struggles. He was a disciple of Malcolm X. There's some street organization stories that have to be told and shared from his early days in Brooklyn. But then he was brought in as the founding director of the Africana Studies and Research Center at Cornell when the students there had a takeover. They literally, with guns, took over the institutions and demanded that not only be Black studies be brought on to be taught properly, but that Dr. Turner be brought in to be the founding director. He was, he sat, with Dr. Clark and Doc Ben. And as they said on Saturday in the commemoration, he is one of the few people to be able to calm and manage Doc Ben. So anybody who's familiar with Dr. Yosef Ben Yochanan, I had the pleasure of meeting him. Anybody who's ever known him knows he was a fire starter. And shout out to Kalanji. But Dr. Turner was one of the few that was, known to be able to be like, ease up, take it easy. So he was like everybody loved him, like from the Karangas and the Ron Daniels and Len Jeffries, who spoke Saturday, to the materialist wing, the political prisoner wing. Sophia Elijah spoke there Saturday. Like everybody in the African world loved this man. So we got to continue to pay tribute to him, but I'll stop here. But he intentionally humbled himself, so he doesn't work in today's world as many others do, he didn't self-promote. He didn't want that kind of limelight in that way, even as he was a leader and one of the strongest of the bunch. So anyway, we will be rocking more about him on Friday. And then on
just to jump in real quick.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know if I know another professor who has produced more of the, sort of like, let's say, my generation and a little bit younger, sort of like radicals and activists and organizers who've been in the movement, folks who passed through Cornell. There is an overabundance of Cornell students who are like from left to militant to nationalist, but who are part of like an organized, larger organizing community. So so his impact, even from somebody who's like an outsider, not in the academic world, you knew who Turner was, or you knew his contributions, and you knew that legacy was like the people who were around doing organizing work because they were able to work under him or work with him and study with him. So that's huge. Yeah.
No, right on. No, that's a really good point. I appreciate that. And I mean, that was his thing. I mean, he was big. Like, what? It's great that we can come here and learn and study, but what are you doing for the people? Where are you in the mix, so to speak? That was a constant refrain. So yeah, it makes sense. Anyway, so more on that to come. And then yesterday, shout out to my baby girl. She went through her ACL surgery with flying colors.
Okay.
It was a stressful morning and day for her parents. We were sitting out there that, like, we not accustomed. Like, there was another girl came in a little bit older, and I heard her mother say, they were all relaxed and having a good time, and my wife and I were just stressed out, and I heard the mother of the other daughter of her daughter say, the other girl say, she referred to themselves as having frequent flyer miles. They had apparently gone through a number of surgeries, so for them it was like, hey, what's up, everybody? She was like high-fiving nurses and what's like, and we're on the other end, like,
nails and stuff.
But she's all good. Everything.
What's a recovery time? What's a recovery time?
Well, the news was really good. So apparently there's this newer procedure where she fit in the category of they didn't have to do a full reconstruction. They could just do a repair. So they're expecting that she should be ready to resume full activity in about 6 months. Whereas, in some cases it could take much longer. So we'll see. Fingers crossed, prayers up, whatever people want to do, we'll take all of it. But so far so good. And a sleepless night, you know what I mean? We got to stay on that painkiller regiment, so it was like every couple hours you got to give a little bit of this, a little bit of that. So nobody slept well last night, but
Did I see happy birthday to the Honorable Marcus Garvey? Big up to Marcus Garvey.
Yes. Yep. Yes. Right on.
Speaking of that Pan-Africanism, I'm DJing a Pan-African festival this Saturday. So it should be.
So we finished talking about my daughter, in other words, right? You were just like,
He's like, let's move on.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear. He was like, okay, just check it, because he was just like, he just bum rushed with the segue. He New Jersey that segue.
He's like, she's okay. All right, good.
I was like,
hey, happy birthday, Garvey.
You'll be having a live? Yeah. All right, good. All right,
right on.
Marcus,
okay, good. That's
Marcus.
it.
Word. I'll give y'all some more information about the Pan-African Festival this Saturday, but I'll catch y'all on the break.
I think he just wanted to get off screen. He's like, they don't pay me for this segment.
Exactly. Like, I got production to do.
Exactly. So what's going on your end? I saw, were you out in the streets again? I saw on Instagram, community movement builders were out in the street getting busy again. What was happening there?
Well, the jail situation here, there's a Atlanta detention center that probably had less than 10 inmates, and they've been negotiating. The city's been negotiating or claiming it's going to repurpose / close the jail. That's been happening over a 4 or 5 year span. The current mayor, Andre Dickens, when he was a city council person, actually introduced legislation to repurpose / close the jail. But they, of course, the powers that be delayed, never officially closed it. The Fulton County Sheriff's Office is screaming about being at overcapacity in its jail, and has now worked up a deal with the city to reopen the jail to have 700 beds at a minimum for purposes of overcrowding. And again, this is a 4-year lease, which means when Dickens is out of office and or second term, if he so thinks, but he could be out of office, so he will have nothing further to do with this. They put out their presser though that's saying they're committed to closing this jail, and this is on their way to closing it. It's like, so let me get the Orwellian stretch here. Your pledge is that you are closing the jail by putting 700 more beds in it. And you know, it's like once they start filling those beds, the city gets money. There's commissary to get. A vending machine money to get. There's long distance phone call money to get. So once they
Right.
start opening it, it's going to be
Now, do they have one of those deals where they're supposed to have a guarantee of sorts from the state for some sort of overcapacity? Like there's some sort of paid relationship to assure that it will always be kept at a certain
that I don't
capacity?
know. The current lease is
Okay.
between the city and the county. So the county is going to pay for it's something like $45 or $50 per inmate. So every inmate held there from the county will pay the city. So I don't know. It doesn't stretch to the state level, to my knowledge.
Okay.
And it was totally, the city had total control, the mayor's office, to close this jail, to repurpose this jail again, which has been the battle cry of the organizers and activists who've been working this battle for years. There's groups like Women on the Rise, Southern Center for Human Rights. They've been working on this for years, and they felt at times they were getting close to a deal, but you can't trust these politicians who would form pictures with take pictures with them, smile for the camera, and the rest of it. And in the end, they decided to go the route of, and again, that crime narrative was used, right? There's a crime wave, there's a crime this, there's a crime that. So all the stuff we've been talking about is sort of recoming back, where these cities are making sure that they, here in Atlanta, you have the rebuilding of Cop City, you have increase or larger police departments, and now you have an expansion of a detention center for more imprisonment of people.
Wow. Okay. All right. Well,
On that good
thankfully
note,
you all are on the case. Yeah. Thankfully you all are on the case. Just real quick. So CMB, like your approach organizationally to this issue is, how do you all do that real quick? Do you have an immediate assessment of the problem and say, like, this is what we want in immediate response to this? Do you then add on the larger theoretical frame or broader? Do you can then extrapolate outwards from there when you're doing this work immediately on the scene, so to speak?
I think we've taken up a space in Atlanta where, we're the folks who will scream the loudest, because there might be some negotiations that are happening with other groups, and we may be somewhat involved, but we're the ones, in terms of our role, it seems right now, is that we're going to have the demonstrations, we're going to scream on those politicians, we're not going to take quarter from them. For the most part, we think we probably have a big overlap in shared ideology with those who are considered either I'm gonna call them like a little bit more, they're more on the progressive side. They got left folks in there too, tendencies, but they station themselves at the progressive side because they want to be able to do negotiations. And we've firmly said, well, we're the ones who are going to say, we want to talk about capitalism. We're the ones that's going to talk about the fact that this is being done to help developers to take control of the city, that these black mayors and black city council people have done nothing but destroyed Atlanta and turned it over to white developers and white corporations and other sort of bourgeois influences, and that their only role, that's their role. So we're there to bring that analysis. We're there to sort of be as hype as possible. And so I feel like that's part of the role that not exclusively, that's part of the role that we play. And we're the ones who are always ready to be like, well, why don't we just roll on their houses? Let's roll on City Hall. Let's do this. You know what I mean? So that's kind of, I think that's in the milieu of action. That's kind of like what we've been doing, or known for, I would say, over the last couple of years in terms of demonstration of public facing work. So that's something that we gladly take on, because and again, I think folks may feel similar. There's no love, no trust for what's happening in terms of elected officials. And I definitely believe that you got to negotiate at times and have policy, but you also got to have that left flank, that militant flank that's like, we will march on your house. And I think that's what we're here for.
Hey, Dr. Turner used to talk about we've lost the inside outside game, and we only have an inside game. Everybody wants to be inside, and we've lost the outside game. And without that, and especially nowadays, without that Steph Curry, you just can't win. So speaking of our Steph Curry, looks like he's back in the dojo. You back in the Matrix? You got Morpheus in there about to train you up something?
I'm in deep meditation right now. Yo, Kamau is like the Brooklyn Joe Clark. He stay with the bullhorn. Straight up. He stay out in the streets with the bullhorn. I'll be like, this dude is yelling on everybody. Get him, son. Get him. That's dope, man. Stay out there organizing. That's a beautiful thing. So yeah, I'm in the dojo today. Yesterday we talked about Carl Douglas, I believe, who created the song Kung Fu Fighting. Everybody was Kung Fu fighting. Yeah. Exactly. And
I might be a little racist these days. You can't go to
Careful.
Careful. You gotta be careful.
Oh my goodness. Come on. It's a piano.
Just keep going.
But anyway, so I talked about we're gonna do the top 5 Kung Fu flicks. So that's right. So my top 5 Kung Fu flicks. Let's get to it right here on the Remix Morning Show. Yeah. All right, welcome out, everybody. Hit that like, subscribe button. As you can see, this is the Remix Morning Show. We rocking out from 8 to 10 a.m. Tuesday through Thursday. Go to blackpowermedia.org and check out some of our merch. Also, go to patreon.com and drop some change in the bucket and become a member. Join, all that. This is an organization you can join right here. Okay, so as I spoke about earlier, yes, we talked about my top 5 Kung Fu flicks. So how we going to start this off? We're going to do it like this. All right. First, I would like to start off with no other than 5 Element Ninjas. This right here had one of the best villains, and you're talking about different styles. And this was a Shaw brother. Shaw brothers always came with the heat when it came to the Kung Fu flicks. All right. Next, we're going to go to one of my favorites of all, no other than Golden Arms. That's right, Golden Arms, another Shaw brother flick where this guy just went through the ringer, had the drunken style in there, and he was an Agent Hightail. I mean, this was a great flick right here. Golden Arms, the same name as my brother from the Wu-Tang clique. That's right, Golden Arms. All right, next we're gonna go to no other than Fist of Legend. That's right, with Jet Li. Jet Li came on the scene, and man, you're talking about real live action and fighting and all that stuff. Jet Li came on the scene and killed it, I must say. And this one right here, he did his thing. He introduced us to a whole another style of Kung Fu flicks. All right, next I am going to go to no other than IP Man. IP Man, this guy right here, you're talking about some quick moves and bam. Yes, he did it all the way to IP Man 4, where they had Mike Tyson in it. I mean, so this is an ongoing thing with IP Man, which is known to be Bruce Lee's teacher. All right, and my number 5, which is one of my favorites, is no other than Ong Bak 2 with Tony Jaa. Tony Jaa, this dude will kill you with the knees. I mean, if you ain't seen this flick, you got to see it. Ong Bak 2, this guy is a beast. And I mean, the whole movie was just crazy. And for legendary status, no other than I got to throw up Enter the Dragon. That's right, Bruce Lee. You got to throw that in there. Jim Kelly, Bruce Lee, Chuck Norris, all types of people was in that movie. So legendary status. And that is my top 5 with the legendary status, Into the Dragon at the end. And that's what it is right here on the Remix Morning Show. Now let's get back to our host with the most. Yeah.
love the new transition, but it's IP man, not IP man, or as I saw Emma say in the chat, Internet Protocol man. It's not intellectual property man. It's IP. And I used to lose what few black points I had because this was one area I didn't mess with. Like I was never a kung fu. Once I saw the voice, even as a kid, I was everything fake to me. I wasn't interested in. Once I saw wrestling was fake, I dipped. Once I saw they were flying around on cords and strings and fake fighting, I was like, I'm not interested in this with the overdubbed voice. I was like, I'd never, but I do know it's it, man. And he did, and it is the story of the man that trained Bruce Lee. That is like his origin story, at least.
And it's kung fu. You keep going like kai fu or kung fu. I don't know what the fuck you say.
I say kung fu. Kung
Say it again.
Kung fu.
All right, practice that. 2, Return of the Dragon should be on that list, and that's where Chuck Norris was. There's another name for
right. Chuck wasn't in Enter the Dragon.
Yeah, he was in Return of the Dragon, and that should have made your list.
Yeah, you're right.
Now, I know I'm right. Don't.
All right, well, you got Jim Kelly in there, so you know
that was Enter the Dragon. Yeah.
Enter the Dragon.
And some other white man. There was another white man in Enter the Dragon.
Yeah, it was another white man that he beats up in that one. Yeah.
But listen, Tony Jaa.
I got one more.
All right.
Your eyes okay?
Go ahead.
Don't make me do the move to take him out. 5 deadly venoms, son. 5 deadly venoms.
No doubt. It was definitely one of those. But you
top 5. It wasn't one of those. It was top 5. Jared, you seem bored. You seem a little bored, Jared, but that's okay.
I feel like you all feel when I talk world football.
Oh, you bugging. Oh man, listen. You gotta go see Ong Bak 2. Go see Ong Bak 2. A lot of those is no strings and all that stuff. This is straight fighting. Check that out, Tony Jaa. It'll change your mind forever. And big up to Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, because it just changed cinema. Yeah. That was a whole new cinema change when it came to that. But that is my top 5. I'm gonna come back with my top 5 black karate movies. So I'll catch y'all later. Peace.
True. 3 the Hard Way. Is that kind of kung fu movie? 3 the Hard Way. Jim Kelly, Jim Brown.
I haven't seen it in so long. It might. I don't know. But if Jim
Kelly did kung fu in it, that's true. Jim Kelly just did kung fu.
I mean, he
said, "You trying to set me up?"
Yeah.
Remember the cops down?
I do vaguely remember that. That was definitely, I mean, I would watch these movies, but I need a story. So that's why, and this is why I want to say to everybody, stay tuned for the next edition whenever we do it of responding to criticism. And Kamal, we got to get the team involved with some of this. You all need to have some fun with this too. But one of the criticism, there's a criticism of my positive review of the new Predator film Prey. So we're going to get into that. Somebody posted to that, and we're going to get into that. But my point is, I need a story. But beyond all the action and all the flying around, I need a good, well-told story.
The teacher,
but that's my saying. It's always the same thing. You killed my teacher. The teacher's battle. You disrespected my teacher. Now we all got to fight.
What? That's enough. What other reason do you need to fight? They disrespected your teacher.
I don't know.
They disrespected the teacher, son. They tried to take over the martial arts school. You can't do that. Then you got to fight on your hands. What else?
I don't know.
That's enough.
I needed to be told. I don't know. Write it better. I don't know, man. but I did come out. I used to lose so many of my remaining black points on that. Cass would be like, "You don't watch Kung Fu." Right. We'll put up with the Jewish mother and the light skin and your corniness, but now you've gone too far.
Now. Dangerous terrain. It was like, who raised him again?
Now we're cutting you off, son.
Well, speaking of good filmmaking, I know that we started to pump this to talk about this when I was gone.
Yeah,
but we got to start talking about the documentary that is probably starting on Saturday. Will be in full force in terms of getting made. But for folks who don't know, or just to catch folks up a little bit, BPM is producing a documentary on Afro-Cuban activism obviously in Cuba. They are almost, as we speak, getting ready to take off and go down and start some filming. So we're going to try to figure out, we want your support for it. So we're going to try to figure out what's the best way to ask you guys for support, whether or not we're going to do a sort of GoFundMe or just kind of do some stuff here and ask you guys to sort of give us some money here or at the Patreon. But, we've made a heavy investment in trying to make sure that this gets made. It was going to premiere and be exclusive on our platform. And so we really, really, really want your support. We're going to come out with some more details. Again, I know we have already a little bit, but we're going to keep pumping that because that's something that we really got to make sure that folks know about and get prepared for and help support, because it's a story about Africans in Cuba working with the revolution, we should say, but challenging the revolution in ways in which other groups don't, particularly on the role of Blackness within the Cuban Revolution and within Cuban life, and the full extent of how Black folks live and survive within Cuba, knowing the embargo and all everything else that people got to face. So.
Right on, absolutely, and definitely shout out to Dev Springer and that whole crew. Dev was on the first of this month talking a little bit about this, so check that out if you all haven't seen it. And definitely, as Kamal said, we will be asking for your support. And just quickly before we slap the map, Manifesto. This is where I redeemed myself and got my blackness back. I'm nice on the spades table, son. I'll hurt your feelings on the spades table. So.
I don't think. Oh, whoa! Before we go, I know, but you know who I am, right? You don't know. I'm like the Bruce Lee of spades, the best spades player ever. Just to keep the martial arts thing ever. I've never lost a spades game, never.
Then you haven't, because you never played against me. You clearly haven't played real competition. That's an absurd.
You're in Baltimore, son. It's not competition. You're Baltimore. Come on now. I'm New York style.
All right, everybody. So stay tuned for the first annual BPM Spades tournament coming soon. That I think needs to be our first post-COVID event. Now that you talked all that trash,
look at this, 2 spades. Listen, when y'all ready to slap some bones and some dominoes, holla at your boy.
It might be time to slap the map on that.
I know I haven't been called a spade in a long time. Let's slap the map, man. Right on. Welcome back to the Remix Morning Show here, Black Power Media. Getting into some news here. Kamal, let me know if you had something you wanted to get us started with. Big thanks to Sister Erica for filling up that run sheet.
Let's go with what she put up in there. Let's go for it.
All right. If we have time, let me shout out to Marcel P. Black. He sent a story to me that we might have, if we have time, we'll get to later on. I want to respect the work that Erica has done for us, but the rapping over vocals movement has come through with a little more news that we can get to later on. But starting here with a story from The Hill. Here's what's in the Inflation Reduction Act, the sweeping bill impacting health, climate, and taxes. Kamal, I have not paid much attention to this, so I'm glad this is here for us to get a review of. Can I get rid of this? How do you get up here to get rid of that? So it's just going to pop up no matter what?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, the House on Friday afternoon is expected to approve the Inflation Reduction Act, sending a top Democratic legislative priority to the White House and a significant victory for President Biden. The included measures, this is a typo, right? The includes measures. Come on, folks. There's a lot of money being spent over there. I can't even get rid of your pop-up. The least you could do is get an editor together. This includes measures to address energy and climate, as well as major changes to the tax code and to healthcare. Here's a look at what's included in the bill. The bill contains a host of measures that would impact energy, the environment, and climate change. It has many provisions that promote the deployment of clean energy or that are otherwise designed to mitigate climate change, but also contains others that boost fossil fuels, including to secure the support of Joe Manchin. Because without Joe Manchin, you know what I mean, nothing moves. Nevertheless, models still estimate major climate benefits coming from the legislation. Three widely cited models respectively estimate the bill will bring U.S. planet warming emissions 31 to 44%, 37 to 41%, and 42% lower than they were in 2005 by 2030. All right. Tax credits extended for energy production. Because the only way to get anything to happen in this country is to get corporations to benefit, right?
Exactly.
Tax credits would be created to extend additional technologies, extended for additional technologies and energy sources, including nuclear energy. Wow, this doesn't seem like a win for the for the environment. I thought
It's a win as long as the plant don't melt down. No melting down the plant.
Many of the incentives contain bonuses for companies based on how much they pay their workers and whether they manufacture their steel, iron, and other components in the U.S. Residential energy, clean energy expenses, tax credits for consumers who buy electric vehicles. Oh, that's right. A friend of mine was talking about he's looking to get an electric car to get that $7,500 rebate. Tax credit would be
but it says but this comes with I think the video's in a way. This comes with stipulations that may make it difficult for vehicles to actually qualify, including requirements that some of the minerals used in their batteries come from countries that have free trade deals with the U.S. Minerals from China, a major supplier, wouldn't meet that requirement.
Oh, thanks for catching that.
Yeah. So they give it with one hand and take it away with another.
So you have to. Well, I guess the
car has to be manufactured to meet certain standards. Otherwise, it doesn't qualify for you to use a tax credit in order to purchase it.
And I'm sure the salesperson you deal with would know that, right? So you could talk to them. Does this car qualify for my $7,500 tax credit?
I guess, but this is further deployed by them to isolate China in some way, or to try to decrease its role in sort of being a major player in world technology markets, including sort of cars and other appliances and other things, whatever.
And speaking to your point, this next line here, some fossil fuel production on public lands would be bolstered. The future of solar and wind on public lands and wind in public waters would be tied to requirements to hold lease sales that open up new oil and gas production.
Yeah. There's another stat that says that Joe Biden has given more leases at this particular point in time in his presidency than Donald Trump did during the same time period. So again, anybody who this is not a shift that gets us away from sort of the use of gasoline or gas products or depletion of or not using oil as much. That this is certainly not that bill.
And what for someone who may have at one point qualified as at least some of our top five of favorite white people, Michael Moore, who has disappeared from my point of view over the last few years, I think in part because he produced that film Planet of the Humans, which his white left friends got banned from YouTube at one point and really attacked Naomi Klein and all this, Amy Goodman friends attacked him for it. Because the premise in the film is disturbing on several levels, because its focus is on how what purports to be an environmental movement is itself, including the biggest names in that movement, are themselves tied to fossil fuel developers that behind even solar. If you they go into all the details in the documentary, people should really watch this and then ask their favorite white platforms what happened to Michael Moore. But the behind all the solar and wind energy is a lot of fossil fuel, and unsustainable technology and doesn't work. So all the things that they say are going to help people as alternatives lead you right back to the same fossil fuel developers and are leading us nowhere. And it upset a lot of people in those spaces, clearly, because they get a lot of money from them.
The
environmental funding gets a lot of money and all of it. Yeah, I know he's still around, Shirley. I didn't mean to suggest he did, but I'm saying he doesn't reverberate or echo.
As he used to
Yeah,
be.
exactly. I mean, he's usually
It used to be Michael Moore would put out a documentary and he would just make the rounds. I mean, he not only did he get kind of progressive and left, so-called left media, but even mainstream media. Mainstream media started to cut back. So, and I think it's true. Like, and so also so-called left media, like you don't see him as much as you used to, and unless he like, obviously there's a reason behind it. It ain't like he retired. So.
I mean, yeah. So, and at that time, I did pay some attention to that story, the battle between that documentary and his comrades, and it was fascinating. But anyway, the documentary is powerful. You can see it for free on YouTube. As far as I've seen it a couple times, watched it with the family even. When my daughter started expressing interest in that movement, I was like, okay, well, check this, because let's anyway. So
The other interesting thing about this now law, no longer a bill, is that it's supposed to help Medicare, supposed to help cut back on drug prices, because there's negotiations now, I believe, with Medicare on drug prices, which of course on its face is a good thing, but that doesn't kick in until like I think 2025. So even that, which again is normally something that people could applaud for, or something which they're holding up as a victory, the next administration, the next Congress, if it veers right wing, could easily change that. So, and my assumption is, in order to win, again, approval from Joe Manchin, that this is again part of the give and take of it, but to hold that up, and that's like 3 years down the line, that you potentially will get some break on drug prices. And if it lasts, of course, and it stays in there, and it's something that goes into effect, that's a positive thing. But the fact that it would take 3 years for it to become even something that they can negotiate around is something that people need to be clear about also.
Right on. The run sheet has a specific request for this story that Jackie be involved, and unfortunately she's not here with us at the moment. But I'll at least bring up the story for us to consider, and if anybody, you or in the chat, knows more about it, we can happily engage. But from Reuters, Kenya's Ruto declared president-elect in chaotic scenes. Ruto won 50.49% of the vote against Odinga's 48.5%. Rival Odinga fails in his fifth stab at presidency. 4 of the 7 electoral commissioners dispute result, and anger in Odinga's stronghold of Kisumu. So I honestly don't know any of the details behind what's happening with Kenya's elections, and am not sure to what extent this story is accurate, or the news is good or bad, or what could be said about it. I will note that the story says that Ruto claims that it says in here that class divisions were the centerpiece of his campaign to become Kenya's 5th president, promising to reward low-income hustlers. I'm assuming that means people working hard as opposed to ripping people off. But anyway, so
yeah, unfortunately, I haven't been studying the situation either, so I don't have a lot of comments on it. But obviously, it's such a close election, and something that's overtly disputed, as I think several or many of the Kenyan elections, and they're not the only one, but many of the Kenyan elections have been disputed over the years when they've happened. And so I think that's something we need to come back to and get an expert on to talk through what's happening in Kenya.
Yeah, right on. Absolutely. Let's see. So we're back to the Hill for this story here. I've been I'll go ahead and claim that it was me being myopically focused on this essay I finally finished the other day, but I've been missing apparently a lot of stuff. I haven't heard about any of this. Rapper A$AP Rocky charged with felony assault with a firearm. Rapper A$AP Rocky charged with 2 felonies Monday for pulling a gun on a former friend and firing in Hollywood last year, prosecutors said. The Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office charged a 33-year-old New York native whose legal name is Rakeem Althaliston Myers with 2 counts of assault with a semi-automatic firearm. Prosecutors allege that during an argument on November 6, 2021, Myers pointed the handgun at the victim, then in a subsequent confrontation drew the gun again and fired twice in the direction of the man who sustained a minor injury. His name has not been released. Myers has not entered a plea to the charges. He is scheduled to be arraigned Wednesday. An email seeking comment from representatives was not immediately returned. Discharging a gun in public place is a serious offense that could have ended with tragic consequences, not only for the person targeted, but also for innocent bystanders visiting Hollywood, said the district attorney. So, and apparently Myers and 2 other men fled the scene after he fired the gun. He was first arrested at LA International. He has a son with Rihanna. Okay. All right. Any thoughts on that? I don't know anything about this either.
Don't put story. If you don't know about it, don't put the story up. We gotta wait.
Well, I don't have any stories prepared myself, and Erica did fill the run sheet, and I don't know what you know. I don't want to impose my ignorance or project my ignorance onto you.
I don't follow Rocky. You know what I'm saying? I know he got the baby with Rihanna. And it's hard to say anything about it, just in the sense of, like, these artists got to make some decisions around, like, world they're going to live into, because they got all this money and resources, and they choose still to be gangsters, and they got to worry about that. But I don't know. I don't know much about his particular situation, and how it plays out in the real world per se. I don't think Rihanna's too happy. Let me put it there. But I do got a quick story. Let me do this story.
Yeah, do it.
It's not so much that I just think it's an interesting story, and it's from the elections. Not obviously, it's from the elections of the midterm primary elections. So as folks know, there's a continual battle, of course, amongst the Republicans around what's going to be the leading force in the Republican Party, right? And Liz Cheney, obviously the daughter of Dick Cheney, former vice president, has been a senator. I think it's from Wyoming, and she challenged a lot of the Trumpism stuff. And again, in some ways, the moderates and so-called progressives tried to hold her up as a new type of Republican, or someone that should be listened to on the Republican side. And I think part of that became her death knell, but challenging Trump and being supported by at least moderate forces, who gave her some credit, I'd say, for her stances on Trump. So she lost very badly in the GOP election for her Senate seat. She's now talking about whether or not she is going to run for the presidency itself. And she lost the seat by more than 30 percentage points. So again, with the tradition of that family in Wyoming, it is sort of a huge piece of news in terms of the direction of the Republican Party, that they would throw her out by such a large margin, to show their support for Trump and Trump's sort of political brand. And then her claim is that she may run for president, which doesn't seem to be something she would have a chance in hell to take. Just shows the sort of like, she doesn't even know what to do next, in terms of her party, in terms of her own political career. But I think it's an important space of like conversation where these folks who claim to have sort of the pulse of their own people, or who again have these long political legacies, are falling. Not all of them, but some are falling by the wayside, even post-Trump, because he still controls, or that politic, whatever that politic really means, but he still controls such a large chunk of the Republican mindset in terms of which way they want to go.
Sometimes people hold out a presidential run as PR, fundraising, something to say on Twitter, something to talk about around dinner. They don't. The possibilities and the seriousness of it are not, always. But the first thing I thought of was, again, when you mentioned Cheney and that family, is damn, the Batman series, Christian Bale should be praised eternally for his role in playing Dick in Dick.
That's true.
That is a very that's a strong performance that I think more accurately shows where Liz and everyone else is related to all of these spaces than any self-promoted or self-developed or news related story could do. So
even the media has tried to rehabilitate him a little bit because of his death. I mean, this is somebody who was, and rightfully so, vilified for obviously being the architect of civil wars. That mainstream media itself did a huge role to sort of make it seem that he is, and maybe he was, right, other than Karl Rove, but the intellectual leader and the person leading the charge in terms of the wars that were gotten into, and as Bush becoming some sort of puppet of Cheney. And so, but even after that, the Trumpism thing has now been a cause celeb to rehabilitate these people. And this has happened several times now with these kind of what used to be known as like these right-wing Republicans who are now, just because they speak out against Trump, they're getting sort of like the type of play on TV stations like MSNBC that they wouldn't have got years ago to express a party line that's differing from Trump. As if now, again, the whole idea that as Trump goes away, everything is back to normal again.
And everybody got cleansed. Everybody took a shower in the wake of Trump's mess and got a cleanse. You know what I mean? Like, Cheney, Bush, even people like Obama have benefited in retrospect when they should not be looking, nearly as good as they hope to. So listen, I did see in the chat someone bring up a story that they were asking me about that I have actually heard a little bit about. So I'm happy to bring it up, and I'm going to put it in the context. And I'm going to say it this way. Just went to the faculty. Shout out to my colleagues in the sociology department, though I'm not officially in that department. I did sort of, I don't know what the word would be, a build with them at their faculty meeting the other day. At the invitation of the wonderful chair, their interim chair, Dr. Howell, shout out to her. And I said to them in this space, I was sitting there, I didn't know everybody, it was my first time building with them. And they're going around talking about how, it was the kind of faculty meeting, I'll say, that you should have, that I haven't been in coming out of the space I had been in years. I hadn't seen like people actually, getting along and not hostile, and there was not tension and drama and a whole bunch of backstabbing going on. So and I said you're not always promised a warm and welcoming leadership that you all are experiencing here, and filtering down or going up, I should say, from the bottom is where I consider people like me to be in this situation, is that the institution itself, despite promotion and TV shows and films and celebrity spokespeople, is not here to build Black radical family. It's just not. So when you find those spaces in HBCUs or at Morgan State in particular, it's to be appreciated. And I say all that to say, because the story in question was announced a couple weeks ago, that Morgan State University is vying to win a U.S. Air Force partnership potentially worth billions of dollars. Morgan State has requested $150 million in state funding to help build a facility that would house a U.S. Air Force University affiliated research center. So I will just say this, this is perfectly consistent with what the university has always done. We have to remember the first head of AFRICOM General Kip Ward is a Morgan State alum, proudly, recognized as such. Ricky Ryan and Black Alliance for Peace have done, even in presentations to my own classes, they have beautifully laid out the neo-colonial relationship that these institutions have to both the police and the military. I had been invited years ago to help develop positive communication strategies for AFRICOM, and happily stepped away from that, and assuredly did not help my career. But this is where the money is. And the president of our university, to his credit, and this is something I would agree with in general principle, wants Morgan State to become an R1 or a Research 1 university, which has requirements around the amount of production you create academically, the amount of PhDs you produce, the amount of research funding you get. And a lot of that funding, as we've talked about in the context of Dr. Favor's book on the history of HBCUs and otherwise, a lot of that funding over the years has been developed around STEM, the hard sciences. I would argue intentionally moving away from liberal arts and critical thinking for political and other purposes. But this is where the money is. So as again, and I am admittedly bitter and angry, as I've watched a lot of my hard work get suppressed and stolen, or rebranded and produced in other areas with different trajectories politically. This is what happens. This is just how it works. So I'm not at all surprised by this. It is not inconsistent. And all I can say is at the very trickle down bottom of that, maybe some positive, minor, literal bits of good work can happen in some distant corner of the institution as a result. But
I mean, that's what you're there for, to be honest, right? You're there to produce that good work that they can say something about, where they get literally hundreds of millions of dollars, like you said, to play the game, to build the institution, to get those resources, and to be even more connected to the machine, right? That's really, like you said, I mean, no one should look at any college as somehow, at least within the U.S. context at this stage. I think student activism and organizing, the students themselves can always surprise you, but the administration itself is always geared towards how do we shut these kids up, get them to get these degrees, pay this money and get out. And we collect the resources, not only from obviously tuition, but like you said, the government contracts, the research money, that we can build out these institutions to be grand and big and increase salaries. They're not about, particularly the HBCUs, right? We always wish and hope that they are, and they use the language to tempt us into believing so, that they're there to do something specifically for the Black community. But in the end, it always feels more like, we're just their customers, right? We're just part of their revenue stream, and that's their focus for us. But it's never about everything that they're going to do for the larger Black community. It just, at least not over time, it has not proven itself to be the case.
Anyway, there's a lot more to be said about that and many other things, but we got our ear doctor ready to come on back up. He's still in the dojo training for the struggle, apparently. Yeah.
Oh, and Jared, it's Rakim, not Rakim. That's ASAP Rock's name. His mom named him after the guy Rakim. So I was just helping you out.
I only know one Rakim, and if I don't know you're talking about him, I'm calling you Rakim. So I'm not mad at that. I don't apologize for that, but I'm happy to be corrected.
It's all good. Yo, so we're going to get back to it. We're going to get back to my top Black martial art karate.
Are you going to do that now? Oh, my God.
Yes, let's get
Word up. It's an exciting day.
No doubt. Right here on the Remix Morning Show.
We'll be back.
Yeah. Welcome out once again. Yo, it's live. People in here live. We went, what was it, 335 people real quick came in and was like, hey, how y'all doing? Big up to everybody that's tuning in right here to the Remix Morning Show. All right, so boom, let me get right to it and do it how I do it. All right, so my top 5 black I ain't gonna say it, martial art flicks is right here for you right now. I'm gonna start off with no other than my homeboy Michael Jai White and Black Dynamite. Man, when you talking about this dude is a real live martial artist, don't sleep. He does this thing, and you're talking about a good flick that has a storyline, funny, and he kicks ass. Michael Jai White and Black Dynamite. All right, next, let's take it to something that changed the whole landscape, especially for Marvel. No other than my man Wesley Snipes in Blade. This dude came and saved the whole Marvel franchise with this movie right here. It got people to start watching superhero flicks again like that. Besides Superman and Batman, there wasn't no other joints like that. So he came and did his thing, and you talking about a true martial artist, Wesley Snipes, no other than. All right, next we're gonna take it to who we talked about early, Jim Kelly. That's right, Black Belt Jones. Him and Gloria Hendry. Oh my goodness, they kick butt, and it was good to see these two, especially his beautiful sister right here, kicking butt too. So that was a dope flick right there, Black Belt Jones. And now I'm going to take it back to my homeboy Michael Jai White and Blood and Bone. In this movie, he was in prison. He got to fight. What's that UFC fighter's name that came in? Kimba. Yeah, Kimba, I believe his name is. But he came in, he did his thing. And like I said, this guy is a true martial artist. He's real nice with it. And last but not least, you got to have on the list no other than my boy Bruce Leroy. That's right. And sure enough, that's right. We talking about The Last Dragon, where you have vanity, you had hip hop, you had kung fu, and you see he rocking the outfit and remnants of your boy Bruce Lee. So big up to Last Dragon. And speaking of rocking the outfit, I'm just gonna throw this in there. Don't get mad when we talk about rocking the outfit that Bruce Lee would rock. Kill Bill was dope. I ain't gonna front y'all. Kill Bill was a good one. And big up to Vivica Fox, since we're talking about black martial artists in this movie. So that is my top 5 black flicks. Now let's get back to it, because I know my homeboy Kamal got something to say about it. So let's do it right here on the Remix Morning Show, y'all. All right.
I'm just mad that you can't say kung fu without fucking it up. I don't understand.
Right. I said martial arts.
No, you had said every time you say the word kung fu, it comes out this strange way. Jared is instantly bored. I feel like anytime I say kung fu, he just don't.
Come on, Jared. Not even on these.
So again,
hold up. I would watch some of these before you spoil it.
No. I'm just saying, I'm not spoiling it. I would watch a lot of these films and enjoy them just for the fact of enjoying like a silly, corny film. But the idea of appreciating the martial arts, or as I've learned from my man S.E. Ramu, the African fighting sciences. Now here, when I drop and when I post, so people should stay tuned. When I post the interview S.E. Ramu did with the legendary Ahati Kalindi, who knew Wesley Snipes, who Wesley platformed on one of his martial arts showcases, the legendary Ahati Kalindi, who shares his story of taking on 6 police officers and permanently ending the career of the first one who raised his hand to him. These are the real fighting stories. Now
he's excited.
Superhero. Now I'm excited. These are the stories. Like, that's the real stuff that we don't see in film, that I'm very much interested in, and I'll post that so maybe even later today, because that
and if you did that. So you don't think Three the Hard Way is a martial arts film? Is Three the Hard Way martial arts here, Doctor? I mean, Jim Kelly. I know it's not strict, but you threw Kill Bill in there, so I don't know.
I don't know. It's not in my top 5.
Not your top 5? Come on, man. Three the Hard Way was the shit.
Now, I've watched there's some interesting stuff on YouTube, by the way. So I've watched a number of platforms. I might not like the films, but there's a lot of interesting discussions. For instance, is Michael Jai White a real fighter as opposed to a film star? There's a lot of debate out there, people calling him a fraud even.
Oh.
Then there was a great breakdown of how Kill Bill was actually Quentin Tarantino's destruction of Bruce Lee. And that's why in that last film with Brad Pitt, he puts that fake scene in there where Bruce Lee gets his butt kicked, because Quentin Tarantino is the quiet, most closeted, trying to be closeted racist dude ever. And because he put Sam Jackson and throw some N-words around, he gets so much room to breathe. But they break down, and that's why what's her name was in that yellow jumpsuit beating up all the Asians, because this was his return, beating, payback against Bruce Lee. They don't like Bruce Lee. They disrespect Bruce Lee. So I'm just saying, it's that stuff I think is fascinating to learn about, more than the put me on a string and fly me around a room.
I can't with this dude.
Don't belittle the genre just because you don't understand. You know what I'm saying?
Damn.
How dare you?
Skill to that. This is skill. We got people that's working wires over here. You're not giving.
Thank you.
You know what I mean?
The choreography.
Okay.
Choreography. All that.
Look at that.
The choreography is great.
Those are dance moves.
It's not fighting.
Just like wrestling, man. You disrespectful, man.
That's what I'm saying. No, I'm saying they're talented. They're athletic. I'm not saying they're not. But that's not wrestling.
The role warriors.
Competition.
Come on, yo. And yo, I gotta say, Black Belt Jones. It was good to see him and his sister really fighting. That was the one you was talking about earlier, Kamal.
No, Jim Kelly's the shit, yo.
Yeah, no doubt.
He might have just passed, if I'm not mistaken.
Nah, like 2 years ago, I believe.
Yeah, okay.
Relatively speaking, yeah. So yeah, you always know when somebody passed, boy. All right, so that is my top 5 black joints. I think I need to do top 5 black westerns.
Well, just know that you owe us some kind of mix at the end. Yeah, we way past those numbers.
Yo, that was wild. How we go?
We hit 330. As soon as Jazz started talking about Morgan, I think all the Morgan administrators like popped on real quick. It was like, it was like 40 of them. And it's like, okay, he stopped. You know what I'm saying?
I seen Jordan ask about the Amazon working with Morgan State. He was asking if you knew anything about that, Jared. But that's my time.
Yeah,
that's my time. I'll get y'all later.
Listen, I don't know about the Amazon deal, and I don't know. I mean, Morgan, as is the case with any university, is going to have a lot of connections and ties to entities that we're not politically going to agree with. I mean, that's just it's. I'm not even saying that, to be honest. It's not even saying that to be critical of the people making those decisions. That's what it's there to do. You can't be there if you're not going to do that. You can't. In other words, you can't have. Kamau and I could never be allowed to run a university in this context. You just can't do it. It's not about. So I mean, you're either going to do that or you're going to get replaced. I mean, it's just that's it. So anyway, that's it.
So let me get us started.
Sure.
With the next story. It's not on the run sheet, but obviously something we should dedicate more time to talking about if we haven't already, but just a little update.
Right on.
So as folks know, Mutulu Shakur, who has been diagnosed with cancer, and it's been publicly stated by his lawyer and other family members that he may not last in terms of life until the end of the year. And they've been seeking a compassionate release from prison. As folks know, Mutulu is 72 years old. He was part of the Republic of New Africa. So he was never a member of the Black Panther Party, but he was obviously part of the Black Liberation Army. His conviction, we could say that, because his conviction, one of his convictions was for helping with the breakouts, because it's not just an escape, but the breakout of Assata Shakur. And that it gave him a certain amount of notoriety. And there are also the Brinks holdups or expropriations in the 1980s, and those became the basis of him being followed in his convictions. But as we know, Mutulu has long been an organizer and warrior in the Black community. and developed acupuncture schools, and has been somebody who has been, even in prison, a leading force in terms of setting direction and tone within the Black liberation movement. And it's, the more popular thing that folks know him for is being the stepdad of Tupac Shakur. And just to read this brief line, it says the 17-year-old Black liberation activist is said by prison doctors to have less than 6 months to live after being diagnosed with stage 3 bone marrow cancer. We'll put up some things in the chat because there's a lot of stuff, a lot of places, or some places people can go to find more information about how to support Mutulu Shakur. There are some online campaigns. I'll give the Movement for Black Lives credit as probably being the largest platform, which is publicly putting things out in support of him. And as well, it's still since, when I was in the organization, still to this day, obviously, it's a leading campaign of the Malcolm X grassroots movement, is to fight for the release of political prisoners. Sekou Odinga, who was closely associated with Mutulu, was released several years ago, and Mutulu is now, at least on that generation, one of the last political prisoners still being held. And some believe, obviously, that because of his leadership role in the second, I'd say the second generation or stage of the Black Liberation Army, that's partly why the state is holding on so tightly to not releasing him and letting him die in prison.
Yeah, thanks for raising that up. And and honestly, shout out to Democracy Now! Who had that story, and M4BL and Malcolm X Grassroots, and all the people I see raising up these, wherever these political spaces and differences may exist. I think that's great and important, and I appreciate it. And think definitely more needs to be done. It's interesting. I just happened to see the other day that they've reissued again the standard in a new series, the standard Biggie Tupac unsolved murders story, where they briefly, of course, it's almost like they have the same 3 stock photos for all of these, where you see Afeni Shakur and some Black Panther rally, and then they mention it briefly. Mutulu is not mentioned at all, of course, but sort of suppressing any potential avenue to these stories and people, with the glitz and glamour of rappers getting killed and nobody knowing who did it, or debating who did it. But the same exact characters, the same story, and the same absenting of people like Mutulu and the associated struggles. And then even when they mention Mutulu, it is only as a sort of stepfather figure. It's never about what he did and what he was associated with and what he was convicted of and why he was doing what he was doing and why what he was doing was necessary for today. All of these things that could be discussed are never, so.
Yeah, I think it was several years ago. There's only one documentary I saw on Pac in particular that did, I think probably Afeni produced it, if I'm not mistaken, but they did more discussion on a little bit of the history of Republic of New Africa, and mentioning Mutulu more than just as the stepfather. But I think you're completely correct. For the most part, it's backgrounded. Tupac's politics and their origins and where they come from, all of that is backgrounded. And none of it is sort of put to the forefront of, like, for those, and it's particularly important for those, of course, who are of a younger generation who got partially either politicized, or when they listen to hip hop, they listen to Tupac, and Tupac is considered sort of as political rappers go, is put in somewhat into a separate category. That people have to know where those politics came from, even if he didn't walk the walk always, that being Tupac, of what those politics were supposed to mean. The fact that he was putting those out there, and that those had come from mostly not just the Black Panther Party, but the Republic of New Africa, the New African People's Organization, the Malcolm X Grassroots movement, which at one point Tupac was closely associated with, and there was at one point, this is maybe a little before I joined, there was an attempt to get him to play a larger role within that formation, but people have to understand that those politics come from someplace, and that the well of those politics run deep, and that they are something that's akin to the ideas of what liberation and the fight for what we term as New Africa, New African liberation, where those come from and where some of those ideas, even steeper than that, but where they come from. And so foregrounding a person like Mutulu is extremely important, not only for his health and to get him out during this time period, so that folks understand that those politics are alive today and people are still using them as part of our work to liberate ourselves as a people. That's what we should be, right?
And definitely check out the series that we put up on BPM in association with some comrades who produced the Asada Chant series, where one of the episodes talks about Mutulu, and it has an interview with Mopreme Shakur, talking more about Mutulu and his relationship with Pac, and it's a very nice piece, well produced. Please check all of those out, and support discussion around them. Again, not everybody agrees with every single thing, but I think that we should, at least have those become the centerpieces of our discussions and even debates. So check those out. Yeah.
Even before we move over, like in terms of Asada's politics are New African. It's not something that's celebrated when folks talk about her. And obviously, I think even within her situation in Cuba, it is not something which gets highlighted, which I think is partially part of a struggle with the Cuban Revolution around Black nationalism. But her politics remember, she was an East Coast Panther. So her politics more aligned with the tradition of New African nationalism, and her association, let me just leave it at this, her association is close to the New African struggle. But people do not necessarily reiterate that, talk about that, or understand that in terms of who she was, particularly when she was captured and her lifelong exile in Cuba, where her politics have aligned. And so again, this of course happens. People take formidable, important heroes and sheroes of revolutionary struggle, and they may keep some of their radicalism, but they strip away sometimes their actual politics because they want them for another purpose. And so it's important, again, to keep centered that people like Asada, people like Mutulu have particular politics, Jalil Matakin, particular politics that led to them being targeted by the police and by the state, because they were serious radicals and revolutionaries. And so people should keep that in mind when they study these people, when they hold these folks up, that these people were targeted for particular reasons. And a lot of that involves their politics, as well as their political actions.
And I think, to your point, Kamal, I think more of us need to engage that exact point and the debate laid down in one form, in one example. For instance, in the new book by Donna Murch called Asada Taught Me, where Professor Murch may not have wanted to discuss with me the differences of opinions there, but she does put down, I think, a challenge to those of us who would want to raise up the point you just making, as she, I think, attaches a different version or a different frame in connecting Asada to the Black Lives Matter effort. But my point is, I think a challenge has been raised in this form by Murch that represents a broader challenge of those who are trying to do as you are cautioning against with how they approach Asada Shakur and associated politics. And I think we in this space, in these spaces, are going to have to continue to step up, as that has reverberating impact in our spaces as well. So all right, very good. Thank you, Kamal, for that. Did you have something else you wanted us to get to?
I got one more that I think
before we go ahead, and then we'll bring your doctor back up.
Yeah, I got one more that I think, which I think we all know, and I think we've talked about this a little bit, but just highlights the issue of what's happening in terms of unionizing right now. And we know that there's been somewhat of an uptick, at least of coverage, and maybe a slight uptick in terms of forces that are trying to unionize. But the fight back to this from the corporation standpoint is always happening. And so here, AAA shuts down its only unionized store. Organizers say it's retaliation. While the company denies the closures related to union activity, it fits a longer pattern of union busting efforts at other franchises like Starbucks and I think that's Henny Brothers Coffee, if I'm not mistaken. I've
Yeah, I
never
don't know
heard of
who
that
that is.
company
Yeah.
before.
Neither have I.
So in June 22 of this year, workers at AAA location in Augusta, Maine, made history by becoming the first store in the U.S. to file for a union election with the National Labor Relations Board. Then on July 19th, this is less than a month, AAA announced that it would be permanently closing the Augusta location, while spokespeople for the fast casual dining giant denied that the closures related to union organizing activity. Workers and their supporters said that the drastic move is a clear act of retaliation and union busting. So I think so, and I think there's been some victories, again, some public victories around Amazon, of course, Starbucks, and these different retail outlets, which have been great. But we should keep in mind that that these activities don't go not only don't go unnoticed and get challenged. Places like Amazon literally put in millions of dollars as counter propaganda against unionizing. And even when that unionizing happens and it's relatively successful, they still have other ways in which they try to fight back, i.e., firing people and closing stores. And this is an ongoing issue in terms of building a labor movement here in the United States.
Are there any big chain restaurants like Chipotle that, from the perspective just at the basics of labor and unionization, could be supported? In other words, I got to cross Starbucks off, got to cross Chipotle off. Like, in other words, in terms of these, I'm just wondering, because I did not know about this, and admittedly, up until this moment, that was one of the favorite stops of at least one of our children. So we got to cut that off now. So I'm just wondering, are any of them left?
If there's anybody in the chat that knows, they should let us know.
Yeah, I would
Because I
appreciate
don't,
that.
I doubt it very, most of them, they do everything they can to stop the unionization from happening, right? From stopping collective bargaining from taking place. And so I don't know if any that directly was like, hey, do you guys want to do this? Yes, we're willing to bargain and make sure you have fair wages, good working conditions. We're here to meet your needs or whatever like that. So yeah, I just think that's going to be an ongoing battle. It's like the retail shops when it was like around not shopping, stores that shop or support the stores that have relationships, I should say, with the apartheid government of South Africa. It's always like every week you had like a new one. It's like, ah, damn, I can't shop there no more. Oh, damn, I can't shop there no more. So I just think that's part of the ongoing battle. I think there's an interesting thing that's also happening in labor movements right now, where a lot of actual nonprofits are now being pushed to also unionize their workers. I think on one hand, even though some of these spots are smaller relative to, of course, big chain dining institutions, but the idea that some of these progressive nonprofits offer, say, they work on issues that are supposed to be either progressive or moving in sort of a liberal direction. But a lot of these places are now being challenged for unionization, and even if they have great records of paying people and the rest of it. So I think the unions have gone in that, and some unions have gone in that direction also, which again, no, it's not a bad direction, but there's only going to capture a limited amount of workers that way. But I think part of it is that unions are trying to figure out ways to obviously increase the amount of workers who are unionized. And so low hanging fruit may work for them because some of these larger stores are bigger challenges. And I think even some of the bigger unions have been scared off, which is why you've had people, I'm going to forget the brother's name, who and some of the other folks who've been in the lead of organizing around Amazon. It pulled out a victory that the larger unions themselves did not even dream was going to happen. So,
Emma, loves to be joking me. Let me tell you something, Emma. When you finally come around to say something nice to me on these platforms, put it in all caps so I make sure to see it. But this comment is spoken like, I don't know anything about Emma, but this comment is spoken like a true non working parent. I'm gonna just leave it at that.
She just said make a burrito, son.
If you are working parents, the idea that you never can benefit from a meal out of the house that someone else has to make every once in a while, and someone else has to do the dishes from you anyway. Nah, it's all.
Thank y'all in the chat.
Question.
Thank y'all in the chat for Chris Smalls. I appreciate that. And which I think you did. You were one of the few. You did an interview with him before
multiple times.
Yeah.
And in fact, as he said, we were one of, I think, the only Black outlet that had invited him on. Now, honestly, I think to his credit, he's too big time for us to get back in the near future. My more recent attempts have not been successful. I think he, am I shaming poverty? This is what I'm saying. You see, people take jokes out of context and take. All right, yeah, I'm shaming poverty because if you're poor, work harder, do better. Like I made it. Why haven't you made it? I can afford Chipotle every once in a while. What's wrong with you? Like catch up.
Oh my God.
Start a business.
We're going to be going another 3-week hiatus starting today.
No, I'm saying, get your, you know what I'm saying? I interviewed Chris Smalls to make fun of him and to shame his efforts. I was punking him. Get out of here. You know what I'm saying? I don't care about no working people.
Oh my God.
Anyway.
Where's the ear doctor?
Especially when they working with turntables. I don't care about them the most.
Where's the left wing ear doctor?
Oh my goodness. They're gonna clip that part. Just take
it.
And they gonna be like, this is your financial guru.
I got another one for you. I support queer theory. Put that one up too. Put that one, clip that. And you know what? One more for you. Clip these.
There you go.
Oh my goodness. You talk about
these.
Oh my God. He obviously missed everybody. Look, anytime he goes on a rant, though, the numbers go up. Do you notice that?
Hey, you talk about wrestling. This dude jumped out the ring for real. We got in the crowd. And
I know how to play the villain. I know how to get my kayfabe up. I know all the language. I just don't like it. I got all of it.
His school turned back in again. They were like, "What? He's going on a rant? Get that."
This dude getting his Rick Rude on. I see you, bro. I see you. Ravishing Rick Rude. Hey, yo, let me let him cool off real quick. We're gonna take a quick musical break right here at the Remix Morning Show, baby. All right. Welcome out, y'all. So I'm gonna give y'all a quick musical break, real quick, so we can get right back to talking about what's going on in the world. So let's get to it. As I give you this musical break, I want to big up and stay into the whole martial arts thing and give it up to the sister called the Samuel Ryder. So we're gonna watch some of the things she does as I give y'all a little musical break. So let's get to it right here on the Remix Morning Show. Yeah. There you go. So check her out. That's the Samu Rider. She's nice with it. You can see her doing stunts in different movies. And that's what it is. We have to show some love to the sisters too. And that's what it is right here on Black Power Media. Now, let's get back to our hosts. You know what it is. All right, come on.
You put that new thing together there, that new little intro, outro thing?
Oh, something.
I like that.
Working on my production skills. I've told that my production is lacking sometimes. So
I didn't say that.
I ain't saying no names.
Wow. Wow.
Inside baseball.
Hey, you might have to join me and stay in these tree-lined streets, because Emma said the streets are too rough for me out there. You might have to join me here, Doc. You might have to come up on my porch and hang with me.
Listen, you still in the crowd, man? You still crowd surfing?
Oh, yeah. I just every once in a while peek out there and see what's being said. It's interesting. It's interesting.
I hear that. And yo, speaking of restaurants, like y'all was talking about earlier, I heard one of the biggest bosses ain't being the best boss. Rick Ross with his Wingstop spot is getting fined for how he's dealing with his employees. He's not paying them right, this, that, and the third. So, yeah, just a little restaurant news.
But you know what, though? Oh, what's up, Hiram? I see Hiram in the chat. What's up, Hiram? Yeah, Emma, remember the last time, though, that I stepped off the porch, I got called a bully. So let's keep it a buck, as the young folks say. You better hope I stay on this porch. Stay in these tree-lined streets. I stay on my porch. I'm gonna sip my coffee on the porch.
He's still on it. He can't.
In all honesty, because I feel like sometimes people in the chat get a little overboard. They overstep themselves.
Do they?
They do. So every once in a while, I just like to
You just got back from vacation. We meet every once in a while.
Nobody was on vacation. I was. That's the other misnomer. Nobody was on vacation. I was doing other work.
We took a 2-week break
from here.
That's all I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. You know, a little back rub.
Out there working.
I don't get no
vacation.
A little back rub.
Ooh, boy. The pettiness is back.
Yo.
Okay. Yo, let me go get ready for my mix at the end of this show.
That's true. You owe us a huge mix. Mix.
Relax.
But when it doesn't get the show taken off.
What happened?
Oh no, I said he owes us a mix at the end because of the numbers.
Oh no, he does.
When it doesn't get the show taken off because he can't do any copyrighted material.
So no Michael Jackson.
Definitely no Mike.
They go hard on Mike.
Yeah. Nobody who had a real contract.
You know who dropped a new track? DJ Premier featuring Rhapsody and Remy Ma. I think that could get in the mix. And
yeah, because ain't nobody gonna listen to that. So you're right.
And all I would want to say is, as much as I hate to say this, as much as I love DJ Premier, only one of those three showed up to work that day, I think.
Oh, damn.
Of the three in that track, only one really showed up. And it
wasn't him.
Damn. Okay. It wasn't Rhapsody either. Remy killed it. Remy killed it. Remy wrote her verse. She wrote her verse with my energy that I feel right now. Like she wanted to step off the porch. She wanted to step off the porch. So she wrote her verse. I don't know. It just wasn't, it just wasn't everybody else's best day. That's all. It's
like when them fights where somebody comes running up to you up the block and be like, so-and-so say they want to fight you. And people walk halfway, it's like almost a duel. People walking halfway up the block. They got the little crowd behind them. You got your crowd behind you. It's like, what's up? I heard you talking about me. What's up? I heard you talking about me. And you have to go through that for like 15 minutes then maybe the fight starts or whatever like that. But you got to go through all that for the first 10 or 15 minutes. Yeah.
I never had the crowd behind me. What I had were people. I just had the instinct. I had the Martin Lawrence's from Do the Right Thing. You want to let him get away with that?
True.
He stepped on you. He stepped on your shit, son. You
True.
Like that's who I had. The batteries in the back. They just wanted to see me go, but they weren't like walking with me. You know what I'm saying? They were walking like they were like.
That was the purpose, and that was the purpose of Friends back then. Like, oh, yo, you gonna let him say that shit, yo?
We're not gonna swing on him, but Jared will go out there and get his head knocked open real quick. Like, yeah.
So mom's like that. Damn, yo, come on now.
And then my mother drove me back to my first one. She was like, "You can't come." She
drove you back to the fight.
She drove me back to the fight. She said, "You could," because I came home. She saw I was upset. She was like, "What happened?" And I was like, "Nothing," because I left. And she was like, "What?" And she just did that real. She said, "You sure that's what you want to do?" And then she put the car keys on the kitchen and sat by the kitchen, by the kitchen table by the door. And just kind of sat there. You sure you just want to stay here? And I was like, all right. Eventually it just built up. I was like, take me. She was like, call the boy out the house. Get down there and fight my son. Anyway.
Oh, no. Damn, she drove you to the fight.
She drove me back over there, called the boy out, and said, "Come on over here and fight my son properly."
And did y'all fight?
We fought. Well,
okay.
And it was a kid's fight. I mean, it was this like 6th grade, and
like 10, 11 years old.
Yeah, whatever. With 6th grade, I know whatever that age
11.
is.
Yeah,
and so it was at that level, like nobody, I think
my mom would come out to fight. She didn't at that point. She came out to fight. There were several fights in the neighborhood where my sister was in a fight. Then my mom's came out to be like, now you're going to have to fight 2 of us.
Oh, damn.
That was that. Yeah. That was that energy. No. Yeah. But okay.
Right,
let's move on. Right, well, we got
fight stories told.
I got another story, but you guys.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, I'm just going down the run sheet. Erica did all the work. I'm just here.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Even though I made fun about this kind of behavior, or this is kind of a non-story story to me, even though it's national headlines, but I couldn't pass it up just because this kid, he came to Georgia. So Giuliani arrives to testify in Georgia 2020 election probe. So as folks know, there's a grand jury that is convening. Rudy Giuliani arrived at an Atlanta courthouse Wednesday under a judge's order to appear before a special grand jury that is investigating attempts by former President Donald Trump and others to overturn the 2020 election defeat in Georgia. And Giuliani, of course, refused to answer questions. All of a sudden, his lawyer stuff kicked in. You say grand juries, as I recall, are secret. They ask questions and we'll see. What's funny, too, is that Trump himself has described, I want to get to the part where he talks about the actual conversation he had. Fulton County District Attorney Bonnie Willis opened her investigation. And again, it's the investigate. In my estimation, I don't. This is not really going to go far beyond this kind of thing. But I'm sure Trump won't get indicted. Giuliani is a small enough player with not a lot of backing at this stage in his life where he can potentially get indicted for something. I don't see them indicting Trump, but I do see this as like political theater. But she opened her investigation after a disclosure of remarkable January 2nd, 2021 phone call between Trump and Georgia Secretary of State Brad Rockensberger. Never going to get that name right. On the call, Trump suggested that he could find the exact number of votes that would be needed to flip the election results in Georgia. Trump has denied any wrongdoing. He has described the call as perfect. So just the level of buffoonery that's happening, or it has happened and will continue to happen in U.S. elections, and it's its fallout, we're still continuing to see. Giuliani, who probably should have been in jail for 12 different reasons, including, well, there's just 12 different reasons that dude should be in jail or locked up. But he continues to make headlines basically as this troll for Trump. Any vestiges of any serious either political career or obviously any career anyone needs to take serious is far going and over. Now he's just some weird cranky old dude who potentially will go down on behalf of Trump, just to sort of be a fall guy for Trump in the near future, because this is the state of the politics that are happening right now.
All I can say about Giuliani is Borat. And that's all I would want to shout at him if he walked down the street near me. Borat. Because if he, I don't know if he has, but if he has not attempted to sue Sacha Baron Cohen for falsely editing that video in that film, then to defend himself, then he should be on the list of charges that I know is long and more probably obviously more severe than this. That alone should get him locked up, because he thought that girl, the woman, what he thought was the woman he was talking to, he thought was a 15-year-old girl.
Yeah.
And happily went up to that hotel room, and there's no need for anybody to be interviewing you in a hotel room.
Yeah.
That interview could have happened right down there. Why? So that alone, anyway. And then she felt so uncomfortable as the actress that she wanted Cohen to come in and interrupt. So anyway, Borat.
And then we just had the thing where I guess a big thing was made about it, where he was at some store. I forgot what he was doing out there, whether it was he was campaigning for somebody or something. And someone basically tapped him on the back and then called them out.
Yeah.
And it was reported as assault. I mean, this dude continues to get into these little squabbles or things that raises his name or keeps his name alive. And again, I mean, he's just a caricature. I mean, he was always somewhat of a caricature, but he's happily stepped into the role of a caricature of some sort of political operator who just basically comes off as either a buffoon or ignorant or molester, an old man who should just go sit down at this stage. He
even made, what's his name, the comedian Ken, is it Young? Is that his last? He made him look like a radical when he walked off The Masked Singer when Giuliani was revealed as to be a contestant on that show. So like he's a total clown. And speaking of total clowns, I had watched and even read a little bit about this story over the last several years, and then watched the documentaries and the dramatic series about this guy, and was even joking that these pop-ups are amazing. Wow, so I really can't get past.
Gotta watch a Citibank ad,
but I can't get rid of it once it's played. Like,
just scroll down.
Anyway, WeWork's former CEO has a new startup reportedly valued at $1 million. So this is the guy.
$1 billion.
1 billion. Sorry, I read that wrong. Sorry. Thank you. $1 billion. This is the guy, Adam Newman, who had set up WeWork, which I was somewhat joking about that the sister that created that blockchain, brick and mortar blockchain thing in LA, that he got a whole bunch of investment to buy up real estate that he would then refurbish into little cubicles and bars and stuff, and then rent out to people starting their own startups, essentially is what he was doing. The business model was crazy flawed. He was, exposed as being more or less a real estate Ponziist of some sort. And even as he lost millions for investors and others, he walked away a billionaire, and apparently has started something new. Nearly 3 years after he stepped down as CEO of WeWork, with a failed an attempt to take the company public, he is said to once again be in charge of $1 billion real estate startup. Andreessen Horowitz, the prominent venture capital firm known for its early investment in Twitter and Airbnb, has pumped up about $350 million into Newman's newest venture called Flow, according to the New York Times, citing unnamed sources. The investment valued the startup at more than $1 billion. So that's part of what all of this stuff is, like how these things are valued and who's doing the evaluation, or the valuation rather, is another part of the whole Ponzi-ness of the whole Wall Street thing. But anyway, so he's apparently right back, and as I think Erica rightly has here in her note to us, this is white men failing up again. You know, you can rip people off, fail to take a company public, and if you watch the series or the documentaries or read even about it, I mean, he and his partner are wildly self-deluded people who think that their brand of capitalism and Ponzi scheming is going to somehow improve the world. At least I think they actually believe that. I mean, I think that they've deluded themselves into believing they're doing something good. But anyway.
No, it's a perfect, I mean, to me, it's just crazy that, so he's now off of one failure. And I think half the game is to get that first investment, or at least to claim that you got somebody who's considering that first investment. And then all these other folks who are looking for some way to get 5%, 6%, 10%, 15% on their money, or their investment portfolios, will just throw this money in here. And it's, like you said, this dude has no track record, which should show that you're going to get your money back. But it's the ability to create an image, apparently of success and whiteness, that apparently blinds those other folks in saying like, well, of course this one is going to be successful, or believes whatever excuses or rationale. That's an incredible amount, $1 billion to pump into. Again, the money can be used in so many different ways for so many different purposes. But the fact that you have that kind of resources that you're going to throw at, and this guy, you know, he's going to pay himself a salary of like $20 or $30 million a year out of that investment, right? He immediately gets money out of it, because he's going to pay himself a salary that's crazy in its amount. And so even if when the company fails, again, this person is pocketed the minimum like 20 or 30 million based on salary alone. And if it doesn't fail, of course, stock options or the potential for it to go public. Because really what they want to do is to keep it last long enough, is what you talked about earlier, is to make it go public, because then there's the great increase when it's first purchased, usually if you do it right when it's public. And then maybe over time it'll come back down, and over a longer time period it'll go back up if you're lucky. But if you can get in on that initial public investment at a certain price, and when it goes public, you cash out. And then that's hundreds of millions of dollars are made that way. And I think that's, for them, becomes the ultimate prize. So the minor prize is to get that huge salary. The ultimate prize is those stock options once it becomes public.
That's right.
No matter how the company does.
That's right. And as he did with WeWork, all the people who did all the years of work for next to no pay, who were promised stock and the value of that stock once it goes public to go way up, when he failed to bring it public, they lost everything. And then but because he's positioned at a certain other place, you know, however they do the paperwork, they always get to keep their stuff and more, and others get to lose everything. Capitalism has always ever been a cult. I agree with that. I mean, it's and that's why people like this, and there is a sort of a through line or a comparison between a lot of the people who do this work, like, you know, the Theranos woman, the dude that founded Uber, this guy, Steve Jobs, like all of these people have a kind of similar. There is an intelligence, there is a skill set there, but there is this cult of personality that they can generate that attracts not only the public, but venture capitalists are fooled by it. Like, they're lured by it in their ever, you know, seeking a new place to park capital and make more money.
And it's supposed to be the smart ones, right? They have people who are supposed to be looking over books, who are supposed to be making
Peter Thiel,
decisions.
yes.
Yeah, they're
Sorry,
supposed
yeah,
to be
go ahead.
making decisions on the possibilities for profits in the long run and the rest of it. But they, like, someone will just sit down, chat them up with something, invite them to some expensive place, take them to a chateau, whatever it is, and these folks will give their money. I mean, it's sort of like we are already in this sort of gilded age thing again, where it is the prominent capitalist names that get huge amount of attention. They're looked upon as the leaders of society. Doesn't matter what they do, doesn't matter what they produce. So you have people like Musk and the head of Amazon, who are just now considered quote unquote thought leaders, but based on the fact that they've invested in, and it's not even like I don't think these people are smart in certain areas, but it really doesn't mean that they know how to run everything in the world, or that this particular area where they've succeeded in, somehow now they're given the title of being able to make decisions or put forth their ideas. I mean, Bill Gates is famous for this too. Also, it's like, oh, just because I made a computer, now I should be going to buy all the
Sure.
farmland in the country because I know something about this, or I know something about vaccines. So it's just
But
this.
the other thing, it's there's the other part that's the similarity is that these icons themselves are often given way more credit for everything than they've actually even done. So even as smart as Bill Gates is in that world, he hasn't done everything. Microsoft has made a lot of its improvements by buying up their competitors,
Mhm.
taking over the IP and producing it. So it's not like Bill Gates is doing. Steve Jobs did the same thing.
Yeah.
Wozniak partner gets left in the dust, like he didn't contribute. All these other people, like they didn't contribute because they become the salesperson. In effect, is what they
And in fact,
are.
that's what Jobs' role was, right? He wasn't a computer technology person. He
No,
didn't really do any of that. He was just a
no.
salesperson.
Go get the money and make the pitch, and because someone else is more suited to being quiet and building everything.
Yeah, wear your black
But that's
shirt. That's wear a
yep,
black shirt. And just
yep.
people who think you're so smart if you just wear a black shirt and wear a black turtleneck, and somehow, bam, it's like you've done it. Yeah.
So, but that's why we got the darker BPM t-shirts, so we can. So I'm trying to do my version of the same thing. I don't know if it's working today, according to the chat, but
Well, according
that
to the
at least
audience
was.
numbers, it's working. You got over 335, and all the Morgan State administrators tuned in. Here you go.
I did
Also.
invite my colleagues the other day. I said, if you need, if you need a far left political addition to your media diet, check us out. I like to let people know. I don't want them to be surprised. I don't want them to show up and think that they're going to get MSNBC related content and then be, I want them, I like to,
Make sure that they understand.
yeah. And then, so like, and then, and to say also, because to be fair, very little content is produced in the lane that we occupy. So they might want to add that, you get your little plate of food and you have the little side dish of far left content. Anyway, shout out to the sociologist at Morgan State. I had a really good time in that meeting, and it had been a long time since I felt that way at a faculty meeting. But anyway,
And just to wrap, how it all comes together is,
sure.
No, just really quick. I would say how it all comes together is that these institutions will get these, as we spoke about earlier, they'll get these government grants to do this technology stuff, which will include a Microsoft, which will include an Apple, and everybody. I mean, the U.S. system tries to act like it's mostly private, but as we all know, most of or a lot of the startup capital for these enterprises, particularly in the tech world, comes from the military or it comes from other science grants, and they go both to corporations and to universities, which again becomes the engine that keeps things running. So when they get mad at China's system, it's like, well, what are you mad? You do the same thing, you just do it through a different model. China directly infuses capital into state enterprises, but where in the U.S. it comes out as university contracts and things that are get made, then they get taken private, and folks make money off of them. It's not like that money gets recouped by the government after you do it. You just got you got some free technology that you can use to exploit to get masses of people on there, and you get your salaries and again your stock options.
Look, look, even beyond that, we all contribute to the society that allows for business to be protected and exist and gives legal justification for. We fund the education that largely produces at least the initial steps people need to be, you know, like we provide everything as a collective, and then it's given credit to some company who comes in at the tail end to put its brand on it. And that's, you know, we just got delivered Aquafina bottles to the faculty meeting. And so Pepsi went and put its bottles in someone's lake, probably in India, and then put Aquafina on it and called it, you know,
purified water
that we, a private company, did on our own. I mean, it's, you know, anyway, speaking of all of that though, thanks again to Erica for this. Johnson & Johnson will stop selling talcum powder, and here's what we need to know about that. And I just, you know, want to again encourage people in terms of this whole narrative of failing upwards and upwardly white. I know they're 20 years old at this point, but those documentaries that Jamie Johnson did, the heir to the Johnson & Johnson Foundation, the Born Rich and then 1% documentaries, are classic exposés told from the perspective of the rich, elite, and white, how jacked up they all are. So I think it's a really wonderful thing that they left us. I thank him for that eternally. Anyway, what's happening? Johnson & Johnson says it will no longer sell its talc-based baby powder anywhere starting next year. They stopped U.S. sales in 2020. It matters because the safety of J&J's talc-based powder has been questioned for years, mainly over an alleged link to cancer. Thousands of lawsuits have been filed against the drug giant. And what's next? Lawsuits against J&J are ongoing. The company is still selling its cornstarch-based powder, currently available in the U.S. I dare you to now, in the face of all this, go buy a Johnson & Johnson branded product. Like, at this point, you can't just say we got rid of the talc and replaced it with cornstarch.
For decades, they sold this shit to people. For decades, they sold it under the rubric of protecting your baby's skin, rubbing the commercials of rubbing the powder all over the baby's skin for decades. You know what I mean? They made
and now,
yeah.
So when you go back now and watch those documentaries and watch Jamie Johnson and watch his father and watch his family strain and struggle over conversations about the billions they've made off of this death powder and all these other related products, my goodness, like it's, I got to go watch them again. I think they're on YouTube for free at this point. Like they're anyway. So yeah. No one goes to jail.
Mm-hmm.
No one goes to jail. They just what was the name of that family that did the oxy pills?
Was it Pfizer?
No, but it's a family. Anyway, they were in the I don't think any of them went to jail. Sackler, thank you. The Sackler family. I don't think any of them went to jail. And they knowingly created a pandemic, an epidemic, a drug-addicted epidemic,
and kept pushing it, right? Even when they knew. And Johnson & Johnson, even when they knew, it's like, well, you will put some money aside for lawsuits, or we have some protection, or it's going to take so long for all that to work out. We've already have gotten billions of dollars and diversified and all the rest of it. So even whatever money we got to pay back will just be a pittance of all the resources we already have. And then we'll do we'll donate to some university or do some public building someplace. And so therefore, everybody will forget that part about us, because every day they'll pass by our name and see that, hey, we just developed an opera house for you. Aren't we fantastic people?
Somebody got a Sackler Institute of something somewhere on some campus somewhere.
I know there was a time period they went around to change the names, but like that never happened with the Rockefellers. Like, all that shit they did, there was no social media, because there was no social media at the time.
No, they owned all of the media.
Yeah. Well, that's true too, actually.
Yeah, they owned it all. So, All right. Anyway, look, Look, listen, remixers, you earned it. You did it. You got the numbers up, and we definitely appreciate it. Kamal, big shout out to you and to Erica in the background, to all the remixers who joined us live. But we get that special ear doctor mix. So
that's right.
You're muted. Oh no, you're not muted. There you go. Go ahead.
Now we coming back tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. So make sure y'all tune in to the Remix Morning Show, and that's how it goes. So y'all ready to do
That's
that?
how it goes.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's get it.
As a matter of fact, let me take y'all back in case y'all didn't watch Sundays. We went to hip hop. We gave the birthday celebration, so we're gonna take y'all in that direction. Let's get it.
It was very.
Fly girl is a girl who wants you to see her name, her game, and her ability. Two gold teeth and cold cash money. The guys are on the strap. She tends to act funny. She's got gazelle and a B-bag too. Fly girl, I wanna be with you. You're not the prettiest thing, girl, but that's okay. Your paint and orange jeans make you fresh anyway.
Come on.
My name is Roxanne. Don't you know I just a cold rock a party and I do this show. I said I met these three guys and you know it's true. Let me tell you and explain them all to you. I met this dude with the name of a hat. I didn't even walk away. I didn't give him no rap. But then he got real mad and he got a little tired. If he worked for me, you know he would be fired. He wears a Kango and that is cute. But he ain't got the money and he ain't got the loot. And every time that I see him, he's always a begging. And all the other girls that he's always trying to leg it.
Now may be a little chubby, but don't feel slow. We guarantee you one thing, we can surely come to the party and rock the house as we harmonize and start to turn it out. So put the fresh move and take it from me. Listen to the fifth sound of the disco 3. Ha ha.
Once again, welcome out. This is the Remix Morning Show. Hip hop, happy birthday. 49 years, we going in. Let's get it.
People in the audience, Coochie Rap is my name. I write rhymes and assert them inside the brain. And DJ Below, the man up behind me, operates the turntable when I rock in my rhymes to give a demo.
Man, we gonna take y'all back, man. In case y'all didn't know, this is what we doing right here, right now.
Yo, what up, Set J? Yo, what's up, Trav?
What's up, Set, man?
What's over there? He's ready to get bit. Yo, you know what? I
A
like
little
this
bit of
beat.
Ultra Mag.
Yo, told you about it. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna take it into my Ultra laboratory
Work
and
with
hook
it,
it up.
man.
Yo,
Hook it up.
bust this. Now that's funky.
I tell you, boy,
We are down there. This is so funky that I'ma send more back to the turntables, and you gonna tolerate it. Wait, yo,
get it now.
and we gonna do this. It's funky. I know you.
Oh, yeah. I'm gonna express stuff for you.
Right now,
Yo, I give my money and all that.
yeah, know that. Look, you know what? I'm tough now, my problem. I'm a count to win, and you gonna do this. You know what I'm saying? Bust it, ready?
BSK, we're making that green. People always say,
What the hell does that mean?
Mean for the people who can't understand. A one homeboy became a man. As for the way you scream and shout, one by one I knock you out. K for the way my DJ cutting. Other MCs, man, you ain't saying nothing. Rocking on to the break of dawn. I think cold money, your time is song.
It's on right here, Remix Morning Show, y'all. In case y'all didn't know, we catch y'all in the morning time, 8 a.m. Peace out, y'all. Much love, and we out of here.